Okay, good evening and welcome to the Town of Austining Legislative Meeting for February 28th, 2023. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence for our longtime colleague Cheryl Timmons.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Councilmember Manicchio,
Here.
Councilmember Mayer,
Present.
Councilmember Phil Twill,
Here.
Councilmember Waynes. Okay, Supervisor Philman.
Here. Okay, just a moment. I just wanted to say that it is with deep regret that we report the sudden passing of our fellow town colleague and Austining native Cheryl Timmons, who has been our assessment clerk since 1988. Her passing leaves a huge hole in our hearts and the town assessment office, as Cheryl devoted her life to making sure that Austining residents, especially our seniors, receive the highest level of service and personal care that one could possibly give. Her smile and infectious laugh will be dearly missed by all who knew her. And, you know, it's been a hard week. She did request that, you know, her funeral was today, but she did request that anybody wishing to honor her make a donation to ARF, the Animal Rights Refuge Fund, in ARF in Beacon, New York, an Animal Rescue Foundation. So, thank you.
Public hearings, local law 2023, implement of real property tax exemption for volunteer emergency service member.
Is there anyone here for the public hearing? Okay.
So before the board makes a decision about what you want to do on the public hearing, this is a law that was originally proposed to the town by the Village of Austining, and I believe the Village of Briarcliff Manor is also possibly considering a law similar. Under real property tax law, municipalities have greater discretion at the local level to provide exemptions for residential real property for volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers. So the town is kind of in a unique position, the unincorporated town, because the town does not have a fire department. You have contracts with the Village of Briarcliff Manor as well as the Village of Austining in order to provide those services. However, the town does tax both on the unincorporated level and town general, which includes members within the villages. So this law, as proposed, would allow a 10% exemption on the assessed value of residential real property, provided that the volunteer worker, emergency service worker, lives within an area that provides service to the town, and it's their primary residence, and it's owned by them as in addition to possibly a spouse. And there are you have to have at least 2 years of active certified service as provided by whatever the controlling jurisdiction is. So that wouldn't really be the town. That information would either come from the villages or from ambulance workers from OVAC. And that would be provided annually, and it would be included on the taxable status date, which is May 1st of every year for the following assessment roll. So we're hoping to get this in place before May 1st so that we could get that exemption potentially in place. It would not apply this year. The first year that it would apply would, I believe, be 2025, but I would have to double check on that because it would be on the assessment roll for next year, which would be the taxes that would apply for the following year. But I'll confirm that, but it definitely wouldn't apply this year, but the sooner we can get it started, it'll be on the included in the taxable status of the property. So there will have to be certifications provided, as I said. It'll be eligible for members who have, as I said, at least 2 years of certified active service. And then for those members that have 20 years of certified active service, they would get the exemption for the remainder of the time that they owned an eligible house, a property, even if they didn't continue to provide the services. So that's the law as it stands right now. This is the first time that it's been presented to the board and to the public. We did open the public hearing 2 weeks ago, but we didn't have the law prepared yet because we were still waiting for information from the village. So it's up to the board. If you have questions, if you want to have further discussion, we can carry it over and discuss it at the public hearing over and discuss it at a work session next week. Or if you feel comfortable closing the public hearing based upon the law as presented, we can do that too. It's really up to you.
I think I'd like to carry it over.
Okay. So I believe your next legislative session is the 13th. I'm sorry, the 14th.
Oh, you can't.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a note. I'm gonna have to recuse myself from this topic as being an active fireman.
You okay?
Yep.
Sorry, I was just asking everybody. So, okay, yeah, please hold it to the 14th.
So if the board could just make a motion to adjourn the public hearing to be continued at your March 14th legislative session, and we'll put this on for work session discussion next week.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Local law
All
2020,
abstained?
Recuse, yeah.
local law 2023, amend chapter 180 of the town code to allow medical costs to be executed from income for persons with disabilities and limit income.
Do you want me to speak first, or do you want to open it up to the public?
You can, this is a law that we had enacted, another exemption for a person with disabilities. And we neglected to, did not realize that we could do the adjustment for non-covered medical expenses as well. So we are adding in the exemption that the state allows to deduct the uncovered medical expenses that the disabled person has from their income total qualifications. I get it right?
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, and we did already do this for the senior exemptions. If the board recalls, both for the senior exemption and the disability and limited income exemption, what the state did is that they increased the income limits at which you could get a different percentage of exemption off of the real property value. And so those amounts went up, and the board adopted both of those local laws with respect to the senior exemption. And with respect to both exemptions, it allowed at the local discretion by the town board through a local law to remove, as the supervisor said, unreimbursed medical expenses from the calculation of income. So if that reduces your income even lower, then the percentage of the exemption goes up. So it's just an additional benefit to these groups of people. And this was something that the assessor's office recently brought to our attention because the county had incorporated this exemption for the unreimbursed medical expenses. And so not only to benefit these members of the public, and allow them, to potentially continue to age in place and remain in their homes, that it also would be beneficial for consistency purposes when the assessor's office is determining the value of the property on the taxable status state. If all of the municipalities that the assessor's office does this for were consistent. So because the county has done this, that's another reason for, not the reason, but another reason for the board to consider incorporating it.
I'm okay. Do we have any comments from the public? Is anybody here to speak about this local law?
No.
Okay,
Okay, so
Um,
do we have a motion for it?
I'm good to close this hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, departmental reports. Andrew T, Superintendent of Water and Sewer, and Paul Fraioli, Town and Village Engineer.
Good evening, everybody. Let me just lower this thermostat.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, it's good seeing everybody. Couple projects that we're working on that we wanted to talk about that actually the supervisor's office is working with us pretty closely. The first main project is the senior kitchen down at the community center that we're getting ready to kick that project off real soon. We had our first meeting the other day. We're going to be meeting with the subcontractors this week, the plumber, the electrician, getting those costs together, meeting with the architect and the mechanical engineer to make sure everybody's on the same page. We've met with the person in charge of the actual senior program, and we wanted to make sure the mobilization was correct so that everybody still gets their service in this time period. So we're going to set up a temporary area for them to mobilize to make the meals while we're doing this construction work. The rehabilitation work will be done by town employees along with some village employees working together to keep the costs down. The next step is to mobilize the temporary kitchen to set up that area, take down some concrete walls so we can pull the equipment out, set up the new area with that equipment. We're getting proposals for the flooring, which the village is going to pay for on the flooring side. So putting a whole new floor in and then roughing in the plumbing and the electrical. And after that, we'll have the contractor who provided the equipment, most of the equipment and the cabinets to come in hopefully the end of March, beginning of April. So that project's moving along in the right direction. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the Sunshine Children's Home sewer system. It's kind of a unique situation that is in the town of Newcastle, that property, and the sewer system is owned by the town of Newcastle, actually by the Sunshine Home, which is in the town of Newcastle, and the Cedar Lane Park Arts Center feeds into that. We're looking to switch off to our own sewer lift station, and those drawings are going into the health department in the next 2 weeks for their review. We've kind of kept them in the loop, but most of that work will be done either with town employees or an outside annual contractor excavation company. So we'll see. I think we could do most of it in-house. It's not a huge job, but it's more of getting the correct approvals through the health department before we do it. So will we,
Be able to do a gravity fed?
well, no, it's a force main at that point. So it would be our existing pumps that are outside the art center going, instead of into the pit that Sunshine owns with their pumps, we'll go into our own force main and we'll be self-sufficient at that point. And the only thing we need to discuss how we're going to handle the gazebo area all up on top, for the parks. Are you going to go with a composting facility, or are we going to go with a gravity feed down to our station? A gravity feed down to our station is very costly compared to what compost would be. So I know Mario, the town the parks foreman, is getting prices on that. And I know you were working with him on that. So speaking of that particular piece of property, the ice house, we've come a long way. Supervisor really wanted to push closing up the ice house roof which has been open for a long time. There were holes in the roof. There was slate that was failing. We got a proposal from a local contractor who we use Russ Watsky, who is a roof consultant. A lot of architectural, he lives in Ossining. A lot of architectural firms use him and sub to him. He looked at the roof, found a local contractor. We shored up, that contractor shored up the roof and fixed some of the slate. Now, it's weatherproof, but it's not 100%. The original cost was the original proposal from another outside contractor was $50,000. So far, the town has invested 5,000 with this local contractor, and they think finishing the slate will be an additional 6,000. That'll shore up the whole roof, and putting gutters in and finishing the building in total to make everything downspouts, everything done, $10,000. It's such a difference in cost, and it's hard to get people that understand how to install slate. It's not like a normal roof. So it's going to be up to you guys if you move forward with that, but I think it's money well worth investing. And then the engineer is going to talk about our filter plant and where we are with that, along with his other projects. You guys have any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, Supervisor and Town Council. Thank you for having us this evening. I want to start off where Andy left off and tell you, thanks to your planning board, we finally received the final planning board approval for our dissolved air flotation treatment facility that's to be constructed in Crotonville. We're going to enter the bidding phase soon. It's a very large project. It's a multi-million-dollar Wickes Law project that's going to have 4 prime contractors. The bidding period is expected to take 3 to 4 months. So you won't see any construction activity on the project proper until after that time. However, there is some pre-construction activity going on at the plant right now for some clearing that's necessary that we coordinated with GE. Your town building department is aware, and I discussed it with you earlier, but for the public, if you see any activity, or basically it's some tree clearing that we're doing, if you hear any activity going on up there, that's out of the usual activity of the filtration plant operation that exists there now, that's what that is. But as always, if you have a question about their filter plant, you can direct them to the Village's Public Works Department at 941-4660. But we're looking forward to that project. That's going to serve the town and village for many decades to come upon completion. So it's well worth it. So thank you for your support, and thanks to your planning board. Onto our report. I talked a lot about McCarthy over the last couple of years. I'm just going to start with that because it's finished. And I'm happy to say that Ms. Nakari provided me with the total budget totals for the town portion of that project, remembering that the water facet of that project was paid for by the village. So the town portion of that project was $2.3 million roughly for the purchase order for the contractor that constructed the job and for the engineering services that helped us oversee that job. So 2.35 million in total was the town's commitment to that job. And I'm happy to say that now that we're completed, we expect to have roughly $200,000 left over in the general fund, which can go back against your debt service or however you see fit. But there's about $200,000 that's going to be left over in the PO. So that's always nice to have some money instead of coming back to ask them for some more to finish. It was a unit price contract. So with the oversight and some negotiation, we were able to get a lot of work done for a very fair price. So I think that was a very successful project, and I think the residents feel the same way too. So on behalf of them, thank you. The other things I want to talk about tonight, a little bit, actually, let me talk a little bit about McCarthy, because that was not your usual paving construction project, because I'm going to talk about paving next. McCarthy was a total road reconstruction. And now that they're done, along the way, we unearthed some ongoing utility problems with Verizon and Con Ed that kind of reared themselves up when we were doing that project. So now that we're completed, McCarthy and some of the roads that tie into McCarthy now have all new storm sewer systems with detention that never existed before. But the scope of the project also included a rehabilitation and a sanitary sewer line, for which we just, the village went over with Superintendent Connolly and did some extra cleaning of the lines that weren't part of the project with the village's backhaul. So now the sewer lines are completely intact as well. He just completed that a couple of weeks ago with some of the village crew and town crew working together. So that was a nice little thing. But now that they're done, there's a brand new potable water main on McCarthy connecting into Incognito and Stormy Town Road. And there's also brand new concrete curbs, a brand new storm sewer system, and of course, a new road. So nice project, under budget. I think it was a successful finish. And they also got all new cable and television and power lines out there too, and new transformers. So they should really have no issues, knock on wood, for a lot of years. The 2023 plans, I was discussing this with Superintendent Connolly earlier, for road work are going to include Tappan Terrace and Leewood Terrace. I know he's going to talk a little bit about that when he presents to you, I think, next month. But we had scoped that out last year to give you guys some budget ideas for the 2023 budget. He wants to do some stormwater work. So we'll kind of design that in-house, and we'll use the village's annual bidders to help do what his field crews might need supplemental assistance. So we might do some of that with the annual bidders, but we'll try to do as much of it in-house that we can in advance of the paving. And the paving would include Tappan Terrace and Leewood Road, which will complete kind of his efforts in that area over there that we've done in the last couple of years. So we're looking forward to doing that. Basically, going to be drainage improvements, milling the entire road, and then overlaying it with blacktop. The other project that I'm not too involved in just yet, but look forward to it, is the CDBG efforts on Engle Park. And I'm familiar with CDBG administration. We've been doing it a long time in the village and the town. So I know the supervisor, bless you, the supervisor has me involved in some of the upfront meetings now, and I'll be in there through construction commencement. Hopefully that looks like a project that's going to be a nice benefit to the waterfront. So I'm looking forward to working on that as well. Thank you.
Congratulations, Paul, on McCarthy. That was a beast of a project, and you did a great job.
Yeah.
Supervisors and town board announcements.
Before you start, can I just address what a statement I made during the public hearings? I was thinking about a specific situation that isn't the norm when I talked about the timeframes for the tax exemptions going on the roll. If they're adopted before the taxable status date on May 1st, they'll be included in the final roll for this year, and they would apply to next year's taxes, which would be the 2024 town and county, and then the 2024 into 2025 school district taxes.
Oh, good. There's a goal for us. Get that included. Okay. Where are we? They're missing. Wait. Okay. Anyway, all right. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed our first snowstorm of the year. Keep an eye out Friday for a little bit more, possibly. All right. Earlier this week, the town staff and council members attended the annual Association of Town meeting in New York City. We were able to learn about many policy updates and grant opportunities for towns in New York, as well as opportunities to collaborate with other municipalities about issues common to all of us. There's also a great opportunity to meet with our fellow municipal colleagues, many of which we have not seen in person since the pandemic started. This week, I joined the Habitat Stewards of Ryder Park for a Free the Trees vine cutting event to honor National Invasive Species Awareness Week. Please visit the DEC website to learn which invasive species may be in your own yard and how to deal with them. This is the last week to visit the amazing Black History Month exhibit curated by our village historian, Joyce Chirac Cole, at the Bethany Arts Community. If you have not seen this wonderful event, run right over. It should not be missed. Do not forget, this Friday is First Friday Community Crawl. Come out to support your local businesses and restaurants, and more importantly, meet new neighbors and new people. There are art exhibits, performances, phenomenal food choices, and more going on throughout the community. Sing Sing Kill Brewery is hosting Loft Night Out, a night of drag event this week on Thursday, March 2nd from 7 to 9 p.m. And the Risco School of Music is hosting an effective practice technique for parents class to help your kids get the most out of practicing their instruments. The event will be free, but you must register in advance, and it will take place on Thursday, March 2nd from 6 to 7 p.m. Okay, does anybody else have any announcements?
No. Liaison reports. No. Go. Public comments on agenda items. Anyone has a comment on any agenda items?
Any comments on agenda items? Do we have an audience? Okay, I'm going to go with no comments. Moving into board resolution.
So board resolutions, approval of minutes, regular meeting, February 14, 2023. Resolved that the town board of town of Austin hereby approves the February 14, 2023 minutes of the regular meeting as presented.
So moved.
Do you have-
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approve a voucher detail report. Resolved that the town board of town of Austin hereby approves the voucher detail report dated February 28, 2023 in the amount of $645,337.77. Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resignation town court intermediate clerk. Resolved that the town board of town of Austin accept the resignation of Kenneth W. Lee, White Plains, for the part-time position of the clerk court attendant in the town court effective February 8, 2023. Do you have a motion for?
So moved. Second.
Well, it is with deep regret that we accept the resignation of Kenneth Lee. He'll be moving on to another job somewhere, not here. And thank him for his service. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resignation town clerk office intermediate clerk. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin accept the resignation of Kevin Wiracocha, Brightcliff Manor, from the part-time position of intermediate clerk and the town clerk's office effective February 10, 2023. Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We, with regret, accept the resignation of Kevin. He was with us only a short time, but he found a full-time job, and that's how the cookie crumbles. So, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Appointment town clerk office intermediate clerk. Resolved that the town board of town of Austin appoints Jennifer Criollo Mailpack to the part-time position of intermediate clerk in the town clerk's office, 17.5 hours per week at $17 per hour effective February 16 per hour effective February 21st, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Stipulation of agreement, CSEA temporary reassignation of the assessment clerk work of not bringing unit employment. Be so resolved that upon recommendation of the town supervisor, the town board hereby ratifies and approves the stipulation of agreement between the town and Civil Service Employee Association, INC, dated February 28, 2023. Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Appointments, assessors offices, assessment clerk as amended. Be resolved that upon recommendation to the town supervisor, to the town board of town of Austin, and hereby appoint Jackie McMahon, if I'm not mistaken, to the temporary position to the assessor clerks in the assessor office to the hourly rate of $38.92 per hour effective March 1st, 2023 for a period of 90-day calendar year until the appointment of the new full-time assessment clerk, whichever shall occur first. Ms. McMahon's temporary appointment pursuant to the resolution shall not exceed 90 days. Be further resolved that Ms. McMahon, whom hours and days or will shall be determined and authorized by the town supervisor or her designee, that the Ms. McMahon shall on the weekly basis provide a written and signed record of her hours worked for the town and town supervisor of her designee, and that aside from her daily compensation of the four above, Ms. McMahon shall not be entitled to additional compensation, time off, benefits of any kind from the town. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All
Just
in
on the
favor?
question,
Yeah.
do you see the name correct?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, that's my fault. I'll take responsibility
Oh.
for that. My
I was gonna
apologies.
say,
Yes, it's
that
fine. We
correction.
changed it the first paragraph, but forgot to change second paragraph. My apologies.
So all in favor?
Aye, with
Aye.
correction.
So as amended?
Yeah. Resolution, First Amendment to Agreement to Hubbard's Cupboard LLC. To be resolved that the town board hereby authorize the supervisor to sign the first amendment to agreement with Hubbard's Cupboard LLC to continue to provide prepared lunches to the town senior nutrition program for the 2023 calendar year as a price per meal not to exceed $7, effective January 1st, 2023. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
So this is to codify the fact that we had agreed to increase the price as the costs have gone up, to increase the compensation to the Hubbard's Cupboard that provides our meals, so our seniors could have quality food.
This actually won't come out of the town's budget.
And it
It's
will
based
not.
upon county funding.
Right, and the county funding had increased, so it won't cost us a penny to do this, which is even better.
And it
Um,
also extends the contract for the 2023 calendar year.
Ah, perfect. Anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Stipulation of agreement, CSEA. Be resolved that the town board hereby authorize the supervisor to sign the stipulation of agreement with the Civil Service Employees Association, INC. Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tax payment plan, 21 Independence Place, whereas the town of Austining is required to collect county and school district taxes with the onus on the town to make these taxing jurisdictions whole for any uncollected taxes. And whereas the town board pursuant to chapter 180, article 5 of the town code, as authorized by New York Real Property Tax Law, section 1184, may enter into an installment plan for payment of all delinquent taxes as well as interest and penalties. And the town board does occasionally and in its sole discretion grant such a plan, provided the owner of the property and the payment plan meet the requirements of the town code and state law. Whereas the receiver of taxes has been approached by a property owner requesting a short-term payment plan for delinquent taxes on the property at 21 Independence Place, tax parcel ID 89, that should be 0.19, so we'll do that as amended. 89.19-5-47, which proposed payment plan complies with the town code and state law. And now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby grants the aforementioned payment plan to the owner of the property at 21 Independence Place, with the understanding that this sets no precedent going forward for this or any other property in the future.
Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution Passport Labs, Inc. and Fundamental Business Services, Inc. Whereas the town of Austining and Village of Austining have an agreement with Passport Labs, Inc., formerly Complex Data Innovations, Inc., to provide a parking ticket management system fast track for the issuing, processing, and collection of parking tickets within the village. And whereas the town's participation in the contract is by virtue of an intermunicipal agreement for the village to utilize the town court as it relates to said parking tickets, and the town has no financial obligations or benefit under this agreement. And whereas due to Passport Labs' failure to adequately provide the fast track services, which is a breach of the contract and is causing financial harm to the village and a burden on the town court's operations, the village and town desire to terminate the fast track contract with Passport Labs and enter into a new contract with Fundamental Business Services, Inc., 14 Front Street, Hempstead, New York, FBS, to provide said services. And now therefore be it resolved, the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute documentation reasonably necessary to terminate the fast track contract with Passport Labs, subject to approval by council to the town as to form. And be it further resolved, the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute an agreement with FBS for said services, subject to approval by council to the town as to form. And be it further resolved, the foregoing authorizations are contingent upon there being no financial obligation on the part of the town.
Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence to be received and filed. Resolved that the town board of town of Austining hereby accept the following correspondence. Town planning board minutes from December 14, 2022 and January 18, 2023. Do we have a motion for it?
So moved. I'm gonna have to, I wasn't present for this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Visitor recognition.
Okay, seeing no one still. Moving on.
Do we have a motion to adjourn the section?
So moved. Second.
Was it to adjourn into executive
Yeah,
session?
executive
Okay.
session.
We're
Sorry
gonna
about that.
For the purposes of,
Personnel and contracts.
personnel.
and advice of counsel.
and advice of counsel. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on our first snow day, should you have had a snow day. And we look forward to seeing you next week for a work session. Okay, well.